Hi, I'm back again with another story about the time I spent with my father-in-law in Hiroshima. I call him Otosan, which means father in Japanese. And as promised, we're going to be talking about some fairies, a goddess, a mountain man, and maybe some fish. And I also promised that we will eventually get to Tokyo. But this day that I'm sharing about today did help us make the decision to move him later on. So I'm going to jump right in and let you join the adventure. Here we go. After Akira returned to Tokyo in mid-July, Otosan and I immediately resumed our routine of visiting Okasan a few times a week. Whether we went to town or not, we almost always had breakfast at 8 a.m. so we could watch the 15-minute soap opera that aired every morning on NHK, a tradition we continued even after he came to Tokyo. On the days we stayed home, we often took our time over breakfast and enjoyed a cup of coffee together afterward. One day, Otosan did not come in for breakfast like usual. I knew he was somewhere on the property because I heard the front door open and shut around 5 a.m. When he finally came in at 9, he was very excited. As soon as he was done eating, Otosan started to tell me all about the big fish he found in the river. I suggested that he call for me next time so that I could take a picture of it. That way we could show everyone and put an end to their doubt. He had been trying to convince everyone of the big fish in the river for as long as I could remember. A few hours after breakfast, I heard Otosan hollering my name from the far side of the rice field. By the time I got down the stairs, put my shoes on, and opened the front door, he was on the porch and jabbering away about the big fish. I grabbed my cell phone and took off after him. When we got down to the riverbank, I quickly saw that what he was pointing to was not a fish. Nothing I said convinced him otherwise, so I took a photo and then suggested he go down to get close to the fish while I took a video. He thought this was a splendid idea and took off down the bank. He looked like a little boy scrambling from rock to rock to get to the middle of the river where we knew the fish was hiding. He asked if I could still see it, and I nodded my head yes. When he got right up to it, he stooped down to look closely. Then he shifted again and finally stood up and admitted that it was just a rock. He seemed determined to keep looking for a fish, so I paused the video and headed into the house. Later, over tea, we watched the video together and laughed about how much that rock looked like a fish. We talked about how much Okasan loved to fish and how she would stay out fishing on the river until it was too dark to see her way back. It used to be that Otosan wouldn't come back until after dark, and these days he had to worry about his wife instead. That is, until she needed surgery. At dinner, we again talked about how crazy it was that the big fish was not a fish and just a rock. Though I expected Otosan to claim seeing big fish further up or down the river, naively, I thought the tales of giant fish in that part of the river out front of the house would be over. It took less than 24 hours for him to forget. The next morning, he excitedly reported to me over breakfast that he had found a big one. I tried to remind him about the video from the day before, but he was too excited and dismissed me because the fish he found today was different. He said that this fish had hands and feet and moved almost as if it were crawling on the bottom of the riverbed. That got me to thinking. I wondered if just maybe Otosan was seeing fairies or other nature spirits. That would be way cool, and if true, who better than me to be his daughter-in-law? I would not only believe him, but actively try and support his findings. I would love to see and get to know the nature spirits on the property. I mean, a big fish with hands and feet sounds a lot like the kappa, a Japanese water imp found in traditional folklore. It wouldn't surprise me to find evidence of nature spirits because the mountains in this area are rich with folklore. The family property is in the Hiba Mountains, which are mentioned in the Kojiki, the oldest written chronicles of Japanese history dating back to the 8th century. The gravesite of the goddess who gave birth to the islands is nearby and reportedly a power spot. A few years back, Akira and I hiked up to the gravesite. It was beautiful. I don't remember feeling any extra special power, but perhaps that is because this whole area feels special to me. Then, of course, there is the Hibagon. Growing up with reports of Bigfoot in Washington state prepared me for the story of Hiroshima's own mountain man. While the general public in the U.S. scoffed at the reports of Bigfoot, or Sasquatch as he is also known, the people of Saijo took their mountain man more seriously. An official office was established in the Saijo City Hall to track and record sightings. So what's a big fish with 4 legs compared to a goddess and a mountain man? I figured Otosan would be open to the idea that he was seeing nature spirits. I asked him over lunch if maybe the fish he saw was a kappa. He got angry. He seemed offended that I didn't believe he saw a fish. I don't think it even registered to him that I was suggesting nature spirits such as kappa existed. I sort of understand, but it wasn't what I expected. He believed he was seeing a fish with 4 legs, not a fairy that looks like a fish. I suppose if he believed he was seeing a kappa or other fairy, then he would be just as angry if I didn't believe him. Since he believed he was seeing a fish, no matter how unrealistic that fish was, he was angry that I didn't believe him. I didn't know how to convince him that the fish was not there. It was an uncomfortable moment for both of us. A few days later, we saw a pickup truck parked on the side of the road just past our property line. The river does have fish, and while the season is open, it means that there are usually 1 or 2 guys fishing for sport every day. So when Otosan talked about fish in the river, no one could deny him. It was unsettling, though. Some people tell tall tales of the big one that got away, and you know, and sometimes they even know, that they are exaggerating the size a bit. You go along with the story, though, because it is a story, and there is no way to prove them right or wrong. Otosan, on the other hand, was pointing out the big fish supposedly right in front of us all that no one else but Otosan could see. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you'll be back next time, and thank you to all of you who have been following along with me on this journey. It means the world to me that you're still here and listening. Thanks so much, and bye for now.